So look at, I just want to give you an idea of some of the ways this can be used. And I'm going to skip down to the home backup. Again, the CPAP, here you're looking at 10 to 22, is that 10? No, 18, I'm sorry, 18 to 22 hours. You can run a microwave, you can run a refrigerator, you can run a hair dryer from this if it's under 1800 watts. A lot of hair dryers, 1600 watts. If you're working construction, all kinds of power tools you can use from this, a grinder, circular saw. For outdoor use, you can see this. You can use a laptop outdoors. Some people use these to recharge their drones. Film companies will use these to recharge the drones for when they're shooting footage. It's a really nice unit. It's a little heavy. It's really well constructed. It also comes with an optional solar panel. Now the AIM-TOM, the one that I showed you, under $500, just under 500, that included the solar panel. This one, the solar panel is optional. It's very, very worth the money. I was a little skeptical at first. I went ahead and purchased one, 299 US dollars. It comes, is really well done. And the instructions are really well done. All the cabling is well thought out. It's a nice panel. It folds into a very convenient carrying case that is really easy to set up, and you can have the unit in the house and have the solar panel in the window, or you can have it outdoors, whichever works better. So this is really nice for, like I said, for medium. Some of you have written to me and you've got clinics, you've got health clinics, you have daycare centers, you're concerned about your home, or you have animals, pets, pet clinics, vet clinics, or you have farms and you're concerned about the heating when the power goes out for poultry and things like that. We had severe cold a few years ago in northern New Mexico. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of chickens died because the power was down, the natural gas was cut off, there was no way to provide heat, and they froze, and it was very, very sad. So some of you are asking, what do we do for something like that? This is what I call heavy use backup electricity. So this is not a little portable home generator, that you carry around the back of your car that you carry by hand. These are large units from a company called Generac. And I'm going to show you what the unit looks like. Excuse me. There are different sizes, but they look the same. So one of these is a 22 kilowatt backup generator, and the other one is a 24 kilowatt backup generator. They're pricey, a little bit more pricey. The 22 kilowatt is 5,727 US dollars. 24 kilowatt is $7,498. The difference between these two is internal. It's in the guts of the generator. On the outside, it looks the same. So this is what they look like right here. It looks kind of like an air conditioning unit that you would see on a concrete pad on the outside of your building. And this does, it sets, so you need to have a concrete or a flagstone or a brick pad to mount this on. The box you're seeing on the left is it's called a transfer box, and it's what communicates with the power grid. When that grid goes down, there's a little sensor inside that transfer case. It waits 10 seconds and it kicks on the generator automatically. So you don't have to do anything. This is all set up when the power goes down. I have to tell you, and I have one of these. We've had one for 10 years now, and often the power will go down and we don't even know it because the transition to the backup is so smooth. And the only way I know it is I'm very attuned to sounds. And there's a constant hum that you will hear from this, a drone. Even though it's outdoors, I can hear, it's not loud, but I'm just attuned to it. And I say, it sounds like the generator's on. Maybe our power went out. And then I look at the clocks that, that are not my cell phone and my computer, and I can see, the power actually went down because it's flashing. That's what will happen. So this is a large unit. I wanted you to see the inside. So it has, there's a 12-volt battery that runs this. It is air cooled. They can run on either your natural gas, if you have natural gas that comes into your house. We live in a rural area. We don't have natural gas, but we have propane. So we have a large propane tank, and that propane tank, now we have a feed from the propane tank to the generators, a special device that you have to adapt to for propane, for the pressure coming out of the propane tank. But it will run on either one. The reason I'm saying that, as long as there's propane or as long as there's natural gas, this will run and run and run. Now, there are other kinds of generators, and I know some of you are very used to seeing those. They're smaller. They are on like two wheels, and you wheel them around like a little cart, and you have to keep filling oil and keep filling gasoline. They're noisy. They've got a lot of fumes. They're typically used for shorter periods of time. And this is why I like this in a home, because it's much cleaner. It's running on propane, natural gas. You don't have to do anything. When the power goes down, that transfer switch senses it, this kicks on, and you've got 100% power in your house. All your lights, all your heat, all your cooking, washers, dryers, everything, as long as you have that source of energy. These have to be maintained about once a year. A tech will come out. If you sign up to do that, or you can do it yourself. Change the oil, check there's one spark plug, check the battery usage, and I think it's well worth it. So I wanted you to see that there's something bigger than the little units. And it's about what people feel that they need for themselves and their families. There's some families that have no problems when the power goes out. They use candles, for a week, and to the kids, it's like camping out. I know families that actually set up tents in the living room, and they're using fireplace, and we have fireplaces that we use here as well. So I'm not saying we have to have any of these. I'm saying there's so many questions, people saying, can you point me in the right direction? So I wanted to start with this for backup power. So now you have three options: light, medium, and heavy backup power. You've got the price ranges, you know where to get those. And even if you don't like those, if you go to those sources, they will have other devices for other prices that you can see, and it will just give you a good source to know how to go about looking for these. So I wanted to say that. This is what the Generac unit looks like outside of your house. Like I said, they're not small, and many people think they're air conditioners, but it's actually it is a backup power generator. They do make noise. It's not as noisy as one of the little portable generators because they're insulated inside. Okay? All right, water. This is one that a lot of people are surprised about. They say, why wouldn't we have water? I just want to say we could do a whole program on this. Public water sources are becoming very vulnerable to a lot of things, to toxins, to mischievous kinds of things, as well as natural disasters. Water pipes break and then the water's contaminated. There's a very strong case for having backup water. What the science shows us is that we need water more than we need food. We need water more than we need pretty much anything else. I think the hierarchy is we need water, and interestingly, we need community, and then we need food. We need social support, emotional support. We can go for days and weeks without good food, but our emotional space begins to break down. And we saw this during COVID, during the lockdown. So next to community, water is one of the keys. A lot of times, back in the day, people used to say, well, if it looks like you're going to lose water, fill your bathtub. That's cool. How long is that going to last, and what can you do with it, and how can you carry that around? So here's what I want to share with you. There's a company called WaterBrick. There are other companies as well. I like WaterBrick, and I use WaterBrick. They have these stackable 3.5-gallon water bricks. I like them because they are small enough that an individual can carry one in each hand if you want to move them around. You have 3.5 gallons is, you can go through maybe a couple of those a day. It depends on if you're using it for bathing or not. This is what they look like. So they're very well made. It's non-BPA plastic, and it's got the handle that you can see. This is one brick. The reason it's shaped the way it is because of this. You can stack these, and this is a 6 count, so 6 of those bricks. But they have, if you go to the website I'm going to give you, you can buy different amounts. You can buy 1, you can buy 6, you can buy 8, and you can store these anywhere. You can store them in the pantry, in the garage, under your bed. Some people literally store these underneath the bed, because the last thing you want to do is wait until you need something to try to get it. That's the big mistake. And you don't necessarily want a lot of bottled water that you're buying in the store, because these plastics are actually healthier than the plastics for the water that you're typically seeing, in the airports and in the store. Now, I want to say something about this. When you store water, I think many of you probably know this, you can't just fill it up and let it set. Water has bacteria. So there's short-term storage and longer-term storage, and there are iodine units. There are a couple of droplets of iodine that you can add to these, or follow the instructions. There are some of these that are iodine based. Some people use chlorine. Very, very diluted for both of them. And I'm not recommending either one of those. And I don't even know if they recommend the iodine any longer or not. So I'm not recommending that at all. What I'm saying is, when you buy these, there are kits that are available that will allow you to put something in the water to kill the bacteria for longer term storage, and that would be important. Amazon, you can get these on Amazon for $115.99, or there's another website I put up on top here, preparedplanet.com. They've got all kinds of stuff that you can look at, including different combinations of these. WaterBricks, I found a better price on Amazon, so that was why I put this here. And they come with an optional spigot you can get. So each time you pull one of these down, you can attach the spigot, and it makes it much easier. You don't have to tip this thing up and trying to pour it into a pot, to cook with, or anything like that. I recommend this. I think water it's probably one of the most vulnerable resources that we have, and more people are recognizing that. Our water system, I'm going to speak for the United States, it's aging. A lot of the big cities, the pipes are very old, they're breaking. If there's contamination, everybody's getting that contamination. But even if you live in a rural area like we do, we're on well water, we got a couple of wells. If the power is out, it takes a lot of water, a lot of electricity to run the pump to bring that water up out of the ground. And it's good to have a little bit of water on storage. So I think the way I typically would use these, when times are good, maybe you don't need this, or you want to keep just a few. But if you can see things are getting a little tense, or you're seeing, bad weather is developing in a cycle or in a season, that might be the opportunity to, just to fill up some of these and just have them on hand. I think you'll be happy that you do. Food is a big one that people are asking about. Now, I'm going to be, again, really clear. You can certainly make a list and go to the grocery store and stock up on what you need. Most people that are communicating with us are telling us they're too busy to do that. What they're saying is, we don't have time. We've got kids. The kids are in school. They're in sports. We're working a couple of jobs. Who's got time to do something like this? And everybody's different. So if you are someone that prefers a convenient method, there are sources of backup food. And I'm going to share a couple of them with you now. However, if you choose to take maybe the ideas that are in these backups and do them for yourself, that's something that you can do. Here's the thing about backup food. Now, I've seen this happen a couple of times. Some of you probably remember the scare in the year 2000, the millennial scare, when all the computers were set for the 1900s. And the fear was that systems were going to break down, supply chains would break down, all of that. And I know people that went out and stocked up tons of food, put it in the pantry, put it on the shelf. They rode through the 2000 without too much problem. And they did this again in the year 2012. I saw this happen with the 2012 scare as well. So people they get all this food, and they put it on the shelves, they forget about it. Well, here's the thing. Most of that food has an expiration date. If you're going to stock up piecemeal on your own, I recommend a living stock of food. And here's what I mean by that. You stock that pantry, or you stock the garage or the shelves that you've built or whatever it is, and you use that constantly in your daily life while you're replenishing what you have used. And that way it is a living cycle. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of money invested in food. Some of that food is going to, the expiration date will come within 12 months. Some of it will come, even the canned goods will have expiration dates. Doesn't mean that they're no good. However, sometimes it does. And I've seen, especially with grains, with raw oats and things like that, they reach that expiration date and you check it out, and there are things happening in that oatmeal that you would never expect and that you wouldn't want to eat, primarily insects that have, for whatever reason, they're in the oats, and you don't want to use it. So what I'm going to offer you now is, here's a couple of backups. There is a company called Survive to Thrive. This is the name of the company. Again, that's not the only company. There are others out there. And I'm not saying the others are bad. I'm going to tell you exactly where I'm coming from on this. I am a lifetime non-carnivore. And when I'm home, I eat primarily raw and vegan. When I'm on the road, there are things I have to, have to make some considerations so that I can get what I need. So a lot of the prepared food that is available is made of things that I would never typically eat in a million years. It may have sugar, it may have a lot of salt, it may have heavy creams and sauces and prepared meals that I don't do anyway, so I'm sure not going to do that in an emergency, because here's the reason. In an emergency, more than ever, you need to be healthier than ever. You need to be healthier than ever. So I'm going to invite you to find a source of backup food that fits your lifestyle, that fits your belief system. And I'm going to give you some options here to be able to do that. The reason I chose Survive to Thrive is because it is organic, it is non-GMO. This is a 40-day supply for, they say for an individual, but for two people you can probably, depending on how much you eat a day. It comes in a container that looks like this. And what I want to emphasize here, the price, $299.99, so almost $300. These are not prepared meals. These are the components that you would need to make the meal. And they are components that I would typically want to store in my pantry anyway. Here's what I mean by that. These are not full prep meals. I'll show you some of those in a moment. So the price right now, if you go to the website, prepsos.com, $299.99. Some people say, it's a little pricey. Maybe it is. It depends on what's convenient for you. This comes to the door just like it is. It's got a 25-year shelf life. So you don't have to touch this for 25 years. And you can pick up one of these. You can pick up multiples of these. They stack neatly in the pantry. We've got a few that we have on the bottom shelf in the pantry. Here's the reason I like them. I want to show you what it is. It is vacuum-packed food that I would typically buy piecemeal. So, and I'll give you a list of everything that's here, but you can see it's vacuum packed. So when you open it, the vacuum is broken and you'd have to store what you don't use in a Ziploc. But these are the components that I would typically buy to make a healthy, non-carnivore meal for myself. What's in here, I'm going to tell you exactly. Rolled oats, rice. I wish it was brown rice. It's not. And I do have brown rice that I have here. Millet, garbanzo beans, green lentils, black beans, pinto beans, quinoa, a green food super powder supplement, chia, fermented miso, and a Cajun spice mix. And I'm not sure how zippy that Cajun spice mix is, but what you can see, these would be the basics that you would have to be able to prepare the kinds of meals that you would like, and then you add whatever you want to add to it. If you've got gardens, so if we've got gardens in the summer where we can add, a lot of green leafy vegetables and broccoli and kale and things. In the winter, it might be a little harder to do that. So this is why you'd want to have these kinds of considerations for what's happening here. The green superfood compensates in the winter for what you may not, in an extreme situation. And, the whole idea, hopefully you never need any of this. Hopefully you would never need it. But I want to tell you, I think there's a lot less stress. And you sleep better knowing that you do have this in the unlikely event that supply chains are going to break down, the grocery store shelves are going to go bare, Weather is going to prevent you from getting somewhere. And these are the kinds of things I think it makes sense to expect right now. So, because we're living in a time of extremes. So this is the Survive to Thrive 40-day backup. Now, there is another brand. It's called Valley Food Storage. And I like this one as well. These are full prepared meals. You add hot water. You add these to boiling water. So if you've got your backup electricity, or you've got, from your propane generator or your electric generators, both those little generators I showed you will run hot plates. So you can cook on those if you need to make hot water. And then you add, and this is called breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Amazon, you get this for just under 200 US dollars, 199.95 US dollars. It comes in these containers. And again, this is for one or possibly two people, 80 servings. They are, I'm just going to get close so I can see this. It's very simple ingredients. They don't have a lot of additives and things like that. It's all non-GMO. They don't add a lot of junk in this stuff. They're individually wrapped packages that look like this. There are, in one of those bins, there are 12 pouches, 40 servings of breakfast, 40 servings of lunch and dinner. So you can gauge that. For two people, it would last half as long, or you could get one of these for each person in the house. And when you go to the Amazon site, you will see they have multiples of these. I mean, they have kits as low as $199. They have kits as expensive as 10,000 US dollars because they are feeding many people for up to a year. So it depends. Some companies order these for their employees in the case of emergency. Some emergency preparedness centers, they contract and obviously have bulk prices that they can use here. So these meals, they look really beautiful in the pictures. Some of these I would probably eat. Some typically I wouldn't eat in my normal life, so I probably wouldn't eat them in times of emergency because I typically do not eat heavy creams, heavy sauces. For some people, they say it's a boring diet. For me, it has worked really well. For almost 70 years of my life, it's worked really well. So I've learned what works for me. But I wanted to give you an idea. If you like the prepared meal route, or, you could do one of each. You could have a bin of this, and you could have a bin of the lentils and everything that you can cook. And, it's up to you. Again, all I wanted to do here, people were saying, how do we get started? What's good in your experience? What do you do, Greg? And everything that I've shared with you here, everything without exception, I have now in my home or in my vehicle. The Generac external power unit and the two little ones that I shared with you, the WaterBricks, and some of these backup sources of food, as well as food that I get from our little co-op as well. So I wanted to share these with you. I hope that this has helped to point you in the right direction. A little bit different kind of a Q&A today. But one of the things I want to say about this, we are living, as I mentioned, and I've given you the reasons to say this, we're living this time of extremes. It makes sense to expect that things will not be available and that things will break down. And that's not fear-based. That's not out of fear. That is adaptive resilience. It is recognizing that this is not business as usual. Now, it may not last very long. Maybe it lasts for a year or 2 years, or maybe it lasts 5 years. Who knows? And we don't know, and that's the point. So it makes sense to take the initiative to be honest with yourself. How can we solve the problems if we're not honest about the problems? And if we are prepared, the extremes create much less suffering. They're still not fun, they're still not comfortable, but we know that we're going to be able to provide for ourselves and our families. So to that end, you can make this fun for your family. And I know families, I've never had any children, but I know families that do. And they sit down at the dinner table and the whole family gathers around and they turn off the computers, they turn off the laptops, they turn off the iPads, they turn off the cell phones, and they talk about this is an unusual time. You know, young kids have never seen anything like what I mean, I take that back. Young kids have only seen what we're going through. They don't know that it could be any different, and they don't know how to think about it. So you can have a family planning session and work with the family and say, hey, you know, if we didn't have electricity for a week, what would that be like? What will we need? What can we do without? And that becomes an exercise in communication and what food do we need? What food can we do without? And then you get to shop together and prepare for this together. When the whole family does this together, it can be, number one, very bonding. Number two, you can make it fun for kids. You know, you can get candles and you can get backup flashlights. And, you know, sometimes for kids, having something out of the normal can be fun for a while, maybe not for a long while, but for a while. So, so it doesn't have to be a big, heavy thing. It can simply be the recognition that we're living a time of extremes and it makes sense for us to take care of ourselves. And if we can, to take care of those around us. If you've got more than you need, then you're there. You can take care of your neighbors who may not be thinking the way you are, may not be preparing the way you are. And when times are difficult, if you're like me, I know that you want to help those people as well, that we all think differently. So I think in closing, I'm just going to say the fundamental shift here, these are all things to do. The fundamental shift is in the thinking that allows these things to make sense in your life. It's a huge shift, and it may not be a fun shift, but this is where we are right now. And I wanted to share this with you just to be responsible. And if we need to talk about these in more detail or other things, I'm happy to do that. I don't want every video to dwell upon this, but I felt like it was worth the time and the energy to have this conversation with you so that you can be safe and you can take care of yourself and your families in the days and the months ahead for whatever it is that's coming down the road, okay? All right, thank you so much for sharing a part of your day with me today. Drop me a comment, let me know how you feel about this, whether you agree or you don't agree, that's fine. Maybe you've got some other brands that you like that you'd like to share. I can check them out, and then I can share those with other people as well, all right? Thank you so much. I look forward to our next.